just imagine how you'd feel in the following situation. You're at the World Trade Center, New York, on the 100th floor, and you get onto an elevator with a group of people, and the elevator doors close. The elevator starts to go down. And all of a sudden, the elevator goes into a free fall. Your stomach is in your throat. Everyone's face is white as a sheet. And all of a sudden, the intercom crackles on, and the lobby guard says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have terrible news. The cable has snapped. There's nothing we can do. Your death will be relatively painless. God bless you all. Goodbye." That's how I feel right now. You know, I get nervous speaking in front of groups. I've been trying to figure out how to get rid of those butterflies you have when you get up to speak, you know, and I've been reading all these books and articles, and I've learned a lot. And what I've learned is that there's a lot of bad advice out there, a lot of bad advice. And there's one piece of advice they give you, and I can't figure this out, but they tell you that when you come out to speak in front of a group, imagine that everyone in the audience is not wearing any clothing. Now, I don't know about you, but the idea of speaking in front of 100 naked hospital volunteers, that's not the most relaxing mental image I've ever had, but you know, these guys, the Sunday comics, they don't get nervous. They come out here and they're calm and they're collected, and it's amazing. I mean, take Bill Foy, for example. He's 69 years old, right? He spent 30 years in the insurance industry, and now he's up on stage making people laugh. I went up to Bill the other day. I said, "Bill, how do you do it?" I said, "You're almost 70. I said, "You've had one career. Now you're up on stage making people laugh." I said, "How do you do it?" And he said, "What?" Bill actually got his start in local theater 30 years ago. You may not know this, but it was kind of an inauspicious debut. It was at the Colonial Playhouse in Alden, where he was the wardrobe manager for O Calcutta. It's actually a true story. And you know, Fred Fleitz, you saw him. He's the MC for tonight. His jokes are so old. I mean, these jokes creak. You have to blow the dust off of these jokes before you tell them. And just to give you an idea how old these jokes are, Fred was recently in Egypt on an archaeological expedition. He was digging for jokes. He was digging for jokes, and he actually discovered the world's oldest joke. It was written 30,000 years ago, and it goes like this. A caveman walks into a psychiatrist's office, and he says, "Doctor, nobody will talk to me." The psychiatrist says, "Next." Believe it or not, that's the world's oldest joke. It's amazing. And Vince Long, you saw him with the guitar. He's so musical. He really is. And you may not know this. He's a very famous person. Vince used to write music for film. Believe it or not. You may remember he wrote the love theme to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was really beautiful. I really like that. But when they come out, they don't get nervous. I mean, me, you know, when they introduce me, you know, my heart starts to pound and my pulse races. And at that moment, I always say to myself, why? Why am I doing this to myself? I mean, why do I put myself through this? And every time I ask the question why, the answer comes back why. I'm Jewish. This is what Jewish people do. I don't know what it is. There's something in the genes of Jewish people that compels them to stand up in front of groups and try to be funny. I mean, even when a Jewish baby is born, right, the doctor slaps the baby, and the baby stands up. And they hand it a microphone. It's good to be here. Dr. Blitzstein, you did a hell of a job. Mom, I know that was a difficult birth, so sue me. Growing up Jewish in America is strange. It's a little bit different. I mean, I knew I was different from an early age. I mean, I went to my first wedding. I was only 5 years old, and I stood there with my parents, and I said to my mother, "Mom, why is everyone here wearing those funny nose and glasses?" She said, "Those aren't nose and glasses, those are your relatives." I think it was at that exact point that I knew I was different. I mean, I'm Jewish. I'm part of this people who go back in history 6,000 years. All the way back to a time when Moses went up on a mountaintop and he said to God, All right, let me see if I got this straight. Now, the Arabs get all the oil, and we get to circumcise ourselves. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I knew I was different from an early age. I mean, even in grade school, you know, in class, my Gentile friends, after class, they'd be out playing baseball. And I'd be going door to door selling mutual funds. 3 days a week, I had to go to Hebrew school. And you know, you learn some strange things in Hebrew school. I remember when my teacher said to me, Steve, every time you have a sexual urge, you should plant a tree in Israel. So by the time I graduated, I owned an entire forest north of Tel Aviv. You know, I'll tell you something, I'm single, and my parents are worried about me. I mean, they want to see me get married, and they don't appreciate my sense of humor on the subject. I mean, I was over there the other day, and I said, Mom, Dad, I want to talk to you. I want to tell you something important. I met someone, and I think it's serious. But I have good and bad news. He's Jewish. Somebody just brightened up out there. I'm a little worried about that. People are always trying to set me up on dates. You know, it's really strange. And I don't know, it's crazy. I mean, I'm at my folks' house the other day. My father sits me down and he says, Steve, I have the woman for you. I said, how homely is she? He said, her father is loaded. He owns a chain of hardware stores across the United States. I said, how homely is she? He said, on her birthday, her father bought her a brand new BMW. I said, how homely is she? He said, Steve, sit down a minute. I want to talk to you about your values. You know, looks come and go, but BMWs hold their value for years. I don't know why people are always trying to set me up. I mean, I'd rather do it on my own. You know, the problem is I don't do very well on my own. And I can't figure out why. I mean, I have a magnetic personality. I repel women for some reason. I mean, just tonight I was talking to Annie. She's checking the codes, and she's really cute. And I said, Annie, listen, I thought maybe you and I could go out next week. And she said, I'd really like to, but I have to shampoo my dog. I said, Annie, you don't have a dog. She said, I've been meaning to buy one. And I can't figure out why I do so poorly with women, right? So I figure I better talk to my friend Monica about it. And Monica said, look, Steve, tell me everything that happened on your last date. Let me see if there's anything I can pick out that you're doing wrong. I said, okay. So I start to tell her all about my last date. She cuts me off. She said, there it is. That's it. I said, what? She said, Steve, look, when you're out to dinner with a woman, she said, don't ever, I mean ever, take out a 2-for-1 coupon. I said, now wait a minute. If I happen to be at a nice restaurant and I happen to have a 2-for-1 coupon, she said, leave it in your pocket. She said, don't let it see the light of day because the woman will know you're a cheapskate. And she had a point. And I learned something that night. And let me tell you something. The next time I was on a date, I walked right up to that Taco Bell counter. I said, give me 2 tacos. Extra cheese. And the woman behind the counter said, do you have a coupon? I said, don't embarrass me. That is so tacky. And Monica told me some other things about dating. I didn't know this, but she said there's only certain credit cards you can use on a date. She said it's okay to take out the American Express Gold card. She said, but don't ever, I mean ever, take out the Sears Discover card. Because the woman will know you're getting 1% of that date back at the end of the year. And you're a cheapskate. You know, I've dated women in their 20s and women in their 30s, and I've noticed there's a difference when you go out with a woman in her 20s. The conversation is kind of light, carefree, and casual, and you go out with a woman in her 30s, and the conversation usually starts out with something like this. She'll say, how do you feel about marriage? How do you feel about kids? How many kids do you think you want to have? How soon do you think you want to get married? How do you feel about your wife having a... Pretty soon my head starts to spin. you know? And that's usually when I take out the 2-for-1 coupon. And I'm paying for this with a Sears Discover card. Fred Flights, the MC tonight, he's like a second father to me. And he's worried about me too. And he said something to me last week. I'm going to tell you about this. He probably wouldn't appreciate me saying this, but this is what happened. And it ticked me off. And I want to tell you. He said, Steve, look, you're in your 30s. He said, you've never been married. He said, I am telling you right now, if you don't get married soon, somebody, somewhere, is going to whisper that you're gay. I said, Fred, that's not fair to say that about me just because I'm in my 30s and not married. And let me tell you something right now, that I am not. I have never been, and I never will be, gay. But I am strangely attracted to you, Fred. I'd like to just leave you with this one thought. I used to be terrified speaking in front of groups, absolutely petrified of audiences. But I went to something called Toastmasters. And Toastmasters is a public speaking group, and it really helped me gain confidence speaking in front of audiences. But Toastmasters did something else for me. Toastmasters also helped me gain confidence with women. Because, can you hear me all right? Because before I went to Toastmasters, before I ever joined the group, I used to go to a nightclub, right? And I'd walk in, and outside the dance floor with the music going, I would see this lovely woman, and she's well, show them what she's doing. Vince, hit it. Go ahead, hit it. She's standing outside the dance floor like this. It's amazing. And this woman is looking around for partners, and I decide I better go up to her, but I'm really nervous. I mean, I'm just so nervous, I don't know what to say, but I want to ask her to dance. And I walk up and I say, look, hi, would you like to dance? And she said, no. And I would slink away. But I went to Toastmasters. And I worked on my skills. I worked on my self-confidence. And my self-esteem went up to here. And I went back to that nightclub. And I saw that woman. And she's standing outside the dance floor. Go ahead, hit it, Vince. She's looking for a partner. This time, I was cool. I was suave. And I walked up to her, and I said, hi, would you like to dance? And she said, no. And I said, I was just feeling sorry for you. Thank you very much. Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, we're the Sunday Comics. 5 guys who go out raising money for charity, and if you can believe this, we've raised more than $100,000 for nonprofit groups in the Delaware Valley. And I'll tell you something, we do this strictly for free to help other people. And the only thing these guys get out of it is the applause at the end of the night. So if you do me a favor as I bring them out one by one, put your hands together. Please help me welcome back to the stage Mr. Bill Foy. Mr. Vince Long. And our MC for tonight, Mr. Fred Flights. I'm Steve Oza. We're the Sunday Comics. Get the word started. Thank you, and good night.